Okay, so we're going to get started on our value pumpkins. You can turn your paper long ways or tall, depending on how many or how big you want your pumpkins to be. We're going to start by drawing a horizon line after you put your name and class code on the back of your paper. And if you want this to be a perfect line, you can use a ruler. But I'm just going to quickly draw a line across my paper. That way I know what my pumpkins are sitting on top of. And I'm deciding how big and how many pumpkins I want to have. And I'm going to do 2 small pumpkins and 1 big pumpkin in the middle. So starting with a oval shape. And then I'm going to connect a C shape on each side. So on that side, it looks like a C. And on the other side, it's more of a backward C. And really make sure you curve it inwards. So each shape has its own little dip going inwards. And then for the stem, I'm going to do a curved line on each side and connect that curved line on top. Now to make this look 3D, I need those last 2 humps in the back. And then I have my realistic pumpkin. Before I do my big pumpkin in the center, I'm going to do another small pumpkin on the other side. So again, with my oval shape and my C's that curve in, 2 on each side, my stem, and then my back 2 curves. So for my big pumpkin, I need a skinnier and taller curved line. But I'm still going to do those C shapes. And when I touch that other pumpkin, I'm going to stop and then finish the bottom as I go. It's really important that you curve in when you connect to each piece. That way it looks like a pumpkin with its own shapes. So now that I've lightly drawn this with my pencil, I'm going to take my chalk pastel and trace over each pencil line. And I'm going to use the point of my chalk pastel because I don't want this to be a thick line. I want it to pretty much just cover the pencil line. So I'm going to start with the little ones, which I learned was a challenge. So maybe don't draw pumpkins quite this small. I don't think I would go any smaller than that pumpkin right there because it will be way too hard to use a chalk pastel to outline it. So then I'm going to outline my big one. Again, stop when I hit that pumpkin and keep outlining around every pencil line. Once each pencil line is covered, I'm going to take either my finger or a tissue and smudge these lines around. I'm only going to smudge them in the same direction that I drew them. That way it's not completely just filled in black. We want a value. We want to see light and darkness. So on those small pumpkins, I have to use a tissue because they're way too small for me to use my finger. So I'm going to take my tissue and I'm going to just go around the line that I just drew over and over again until I'm happy with that light and darkness created. I'm going to do it on the other side, only just repeating the same motion over and over again to really smudge out that chalk pastel. And I can use the extra color on my tissue to make some shadows on the bottoms of my pumpkin. Now for my big pumpkin, I can probably use my finger. So I'm going to go and do the same exact thing using one finger and smudging out these lines, creating a value shadow, light, and darkness on my pumpkin. Now, if you want this to be darker, you can add more chalk pastel on top and re-smudge it. But I would always start light because you can't really take this away. You can try to erase it and it may come up, but it's going to be a lot easier if you just start light. So when you draw with that or that chalk pastel, don't press down too hard. So now I'm going to take a orange color, kind of a middle orange color, and just fill in all of the spaces I want to be orange. Since this is a chalk pastel, we're going to blend this. So it's okay if it's not completely colored in at first. And now I'm going to take my tissue for my little pumpkins and blend that orange in completely. It's going to smear a little bit with the black, and that's what we want to create that natural looking darkness in our value. So I'm just blending out this orange, filling up the whole space, and then smudging it all together. I'm going to do the same thing with my big pumpkin. So this is my middle color of orange. I'm going to use 3 different shades of orange. I'm going to use a middle and then a light and a dark. So once I'm done smudging this all together and blending it in with those black lines, I'm going to get my darker shade of orange. This can be either darker as in brighter or maybe more brown, depending on how realistic you want your pumpkin to be. And I'm going to go around the edges pretty much the same way that I drew my pumpkin, but more on the inside, and just add a shadow on the inside of each line. And remember, if you have piles of chalk on your paper, do not blow them into the air. Either tap it off on your messy mat or go tap it off in the trash can. That way we don't have chalk flying all around the room. So now I'm going to do the same thing and smudge this around. I'm going to keep it in that general area, staying on the edge or on the line, and get that darkness, that shadow happening on my pumpkin. And now, if I'm happy with that darkness, I'm going to then get either a white or a yellow, or I'm going to find a brighter orange, and I'm going to add the highlights in the middle of each shape. So I'm just scribbling in the middle of each shape, going in the same curve or direction of the pumpkin, and then finding a clean finger or a clean space on my tissue to blend in the lighter color and to give it a highlight. Make sure you are finding a cleaner finger or clean section of your tissue, or you're just going to blend it to be the same color of whatever you blended before. And now the last thing I'm going to do is color my stems. I can do the same thing and add some darker shades in there, or I can just add a few black lines to give it a little more dimension on my stem. If I want to add any color to the top or bottom, I can. You don't have to, because we're really just focusing on the pumpkins. But if you're not too happy with just the emptiness, you can color the bottom and the top. I just did a brown bottom to kind of make it look like maybe it's in a pumpkin patch. So that's up to you. You can leave it just white and having shadows, or you can color in your background. And I'm going to add a little twisty guy to my pumpkin, and then I'm all complete. We're going to spray this with a sealer.